We should have done the thing where like we clap. That was so bad when we tried that last week.
Normal. It was fine. You always act like it was so bad, but like
I wish you saw it on my side because you would have agreed with me.
Well, there's always a lag, but that's the point of doing it, so that you can match up the audio.
I mean, I understand the point of it. It just sounded really gnarly on my end, but it ended up working. I feel like the clap always is worse than our conversation. I don't know why the clap always feels like it lags more. Anyway, welcome to And That's Why I Drink, where we don't clap, if you can't tell.
We expect you to clap for us.
We'll hear it, I promise.
I'm drinking some wine. How are you?
I'm fine. How has your day been? I feel bad that we're recording so late.
Oh, that's okay. Em has, important pop star things to be doing over there, so we had a late recording session, but that's okay because...
Like, not just late, like 24 hours late.
That's true. Right. Okay.
We were supposed to record yesterday, too.
Yesterday.
And I totally last minute was like, I am not going to be ready at all. So thank you. I appreciate very much you being so accommodating and not giving me crap about it.
Half the time it's me pushing it to be late, so it's all good. But I love that on brand today, you're drinking tea. I'm drinking wine.
Well, I am drinking tea. I'm celebrating today. Do you know why?
It is 222, baby.
Oh, yeah.
I'm so happy for you. It's a special day.
It's Tuesday.
Oh, and it's Tuesday. I didn't even catch.
Written by the gods, I think.
Written in the stars. How's your 22222 been?
It's been fine. It really has been just like a normal day, but I've been thinking about this Tuesday since I was a little kid. And so I always expected like I would have planned something really obnoxiously elaborate. And then the time came and I'm like, wow, I've had literally decades to like make today really special and I just didn't do anything. So I'm kind of bummed at myself, but also not at all surprised.
Well, but also it's kind of out of your control. Like it's like how I felt about my 30th birthday. I was like, wow, I would have done something special, but it was like in the middle of a pandemic. It's like there's not really much you can do at a certain point. Like
that's true, but I do like to buy myself presents and I could have done that. So I like even the things that were in my control, I just didn't even think about it until it was too late. So anyway,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. At the end of the day, it's just a day, but there is like a lot of like familial pressure for Tuesday. Because it was like supposed to be like a power year and like it was supposed to be such a cool time and it's like our lucky number in the whole family and it was gonna be like a cool thing. And as a little kid, I always manifested it as like, that'll be the day I get married. LOL. Whoa. So I know I put a lot of pressure on myself. So now I'm like, well, just sitting here in my socks drinking tea.
You're talking to me.
I'm talking to you. Tell me how you're celebrating today, Miss Christine.
Oh my gosh. Well, my baby has stopped sleeping, so that's fun. So I'm always tired. I don't know. I wish I knew, and then I would fix it. But
is that like just like a thing that happens?
Yeah, it's called a 4-month sleep regression because they're learning all new things, and she's trying to roll over all night, and they have like new sleep cycles. They like develop REM cycles, and so they start waking up way more often. And I feel like everyone's gonna have a tip, and I do appreciate tips, but I will tell you, I've tried so many things, and I've taken all the courses, and I've read all the books, and I am probably not doing something right. I'm sure I'm not, but at a certain point, I think she just wants to wake up and party, every hour and a half.
I don't blame her because I don't have to handle it. But have you done the Dwight Schrute thing where he like waves his hand in front of her face? Because that seemed to work with Cece when she was regressing or whatever it's called.
Well, no, but maybe that'll be tonight's middle of the night, like just last ditch effort.
What did he say? He said it was something like sucking on a piece of lard or something. What was
a suet, a piece of suet.
Just go find that. I guarantee you Renata has that in her pantry.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that'll do the trick.
Suet on a piece of string tied to her finger. Oh, I love it.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're probably very sleepy, which I apologize.
No, I appreciate the apologies, but it's not needed because I have wine. My wonderful partner is downstairs with the baby for the foreseeable future, so we are ready to rock and roll.
For a moment, I thought you were going to say my wonderful partner is recording with me, and I do apologize anyway, because if you are even remotely sleepy, my topic is a thinker, and I feel like...
Okay, can I say this now? Because I'm sleepy, yes, but I'll be fine. But of all days, when we had to push recording yesterday, Em was like, well, it's because I had to learn astrophysics. And I'm like, this is the topic? We're talking about astrophysics?
No. I said I had to learn astrophysics again.
I'm sorry, which means I need to hear about it again, which means, oh gosh, it's going to be a long night.
I really did think like, oh, this is going to be a quick topic, because I had seen like it explained in like a TikTok. So I was like, oh, it took 60 seconds. Like, I'm just going to elaborate a little bit, give us some wiggle room to banter. It's going to be the perfect, easy breezy topic. False. I all of a sudden ended up with like 40 pages of 8-point font information, and I was like, uh-oh, I gotta start learning.
40 pages.
And I was like, I guess I am just gonna tackle it the best I can. And then I still had like 12 pages left when it was like an hour to recording, and I, for some reason, up until that moment, I was like, I can figure it out, and then I got overwhelmed. So anyway, thank you for pushing and letting me have another day
I'm happy to
learn
get
astrophysics.
I'm happy to get what's coming today instead of 12 pages of it.
Today you're just getting 2 pages of it.
I knew like the payoff would be good.
And I think you'll have fun with it because it is a little bit about aliens.
Yay, tell me everything.
I did think it'd be worth it because I was like, sweet Christine loves a good alien experience. So
you make it sound like I have no thoughts behind my eyes. Sweet Christine. She's over there with her wine.
Poor Allison too, because I'm always like, oh, sweet Allison, sweet.
It really sounds like you're talking to a golden retriever with nothing between their ears.
The worst part is like, I really do mean it with only love, but it does sound extremely condescending.
It's sort of like, bless your heart, you know?
Mm-hmm. I know how gross it sounds, but the people
I actually like it.
If you know,
like
you know.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt my feelings at all. I actually kind of like embrace it. I feel like
it'll hurt your feelings when you can tell that I'm judging you, and I go, sweet Christine.
Christine, this astrophysics stuff is just not for you.
Okay, well, here we go, Christine. By the way, I just wanted to say I haven't talked to you in a while, and I sure do miss you, and I love you a lot.
I miss you too.
I just
you
miss
texted earlier like, I'm excited to see your face, and I was like, I was about to say, I can't wait to see your face, and then I looked at my phone.
We got some good faces. Maybe they should, I don't know, do a little bumping into each other sometime. Maybe they should scratch around, see what happens. Scratch around.
Why? I'm trying to yes and you, and it's so hard.
Literally from across the country. It should be very simple. I can't even get to you if I wanted to. It cost me like $500.
I would not put it past you and your dumb brain and your dumb face.
That's fair enough. Okay, here is the topic. And you might have heard this before. Act excited anyway. This is the topic. The Fermi Paradox.
Ooh, I've heard it and I have no idea what it is.
Okay, so I think it's Fermi. It could be like Fermi. I don't know. Fermi. It's someone's last name.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna rock with Fermi Paradox because that's what my brain's been doing for the last like 48 hours. So it's too late to change. Okay, so I'm gonna give you the concept first of what the Fermi Paradox is, and very quickly I think you'll understand where we're heading.
Okay.
Just to give you some fun facts. And by the way, I think all of these facts came from a website called Wait But Why, which I love.
Okay, I love that.
So shout out to them. So here it goes. Our galaxy, just, take a stroll through
Marty's so excited about this. Okay. Our galaxy.
You are interplanet Janet, and you are just going to soar through this
Is that
theory
a
with
thing?
me.
Interplanet Janet?
Homie, do you not know about Schoolhouse Rock?
Oh, God. Not really. I mean, I know like the main songs, but that's about it.
Interplanet Janet, she's a galaxy girl.
No, I literally don't know about that at all.
When I was in like second or third grade, I wanted to be Interplanet Janet for Halloween so bad.
Well, you got to be Xiinön at one point, so you could probably recycle that.
That's absolutely. They're somehow in the same line if you look at Ancestry. Okay, so Interplanet Janet. Our galaxy alone, just the Milky Way, has 100 billion to 400 billion stars.
Dear Lord. Okay.
So for every star out there, I did not know this was like a thing, but apparently for every star out there, it is basically, that means there's another galaxy out in the universe. So for there to be 100 to 400 billion stars out there, that means there's an equal number of potential galaxies out in the universe.
Oh my God, I have a feeling I know where you're going with this whole paradox thing because I already have a headache. Holy shit. Okay.
I spent so long trying to simplify this so it will not give you a headache. We'll see.
Too late.
One bullet in. So for every star in the Milky Way, there's a whole galaxy out there.
Okay.
It's just to give you a better, cleaner idea of how many that is. For every grain of sand on Earth, there is 10,000 planets.
What? In our Milky Way?
Or
in our
10,000 stars. 10,000 stars. Yes.
Holy shit.
Just to blow your mind.
And for every one of those stars, there's $10,000 for Jeff Bezos.
I didn't know where we were going, but yeah. So 10,000 stars per grain of sand on the entire Earth. So of all of those stars, about 20% of those stars, conservatively, because some people say it's, they say 5 to 20%, depending on which scientist you're talking to. It's 5 to 20, which to me is a wide range. 5 to 20%.
That is a wide range.
5 to 20% of those stars are sun-like, which is like more of an indicator that there is life nearby.
Ooh, okay.
So 5 to 20% of maybe 400 billion stars.
Okay.
So conservatively, let's pretend we're just rocking with the 5% situation. Right. That still means there are 500 quintillion,
oh dear,
or 500 billion.
Oh God.
Sun-like stars. So that's the number we're working with now. So now,
holy shit,
between another wide range, between 20 to 50% of those.
Now, is that still in our galaxy, or is that just like everywhere?
Just our galaxy?
Oh my God, what?
Or you can. Oh no, hang on. Blah, 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 blah. There's a whole galaxy out there. I think this is the universe. This is the whole universe.
Oh, okay. That makes me feel a little better.
Or the more observable universe, because we only know so much about the universe so far. So if we're only working with 5% of those stars out there, only 500 quintillion are sun-like stars. Conservatively, again, they say between 20 to 50% of those have potentially habitable Earth-like planets, or planets nearby that life could be created on.
Okay.
So between 20 to 50% of those sun-like stars have this potential. Okay. So if we're sticking with the conservative leaning towards just 20% of them, that's still 100 billion Earth-like planets that are theoretically habitable. Sorry.
What? Okay. Oh my God. Okay.
So life could, in theory, be created on 100 billion Earth-like planets out there. And if we were to be wildly conservative and only 1% of those planets had life on them.
Right.
And then of that 1%, if only 1% of them had life on them that evolved into intelligent life.
Okay.
That would still mean 10 quadrillion intelligent civilizations are in the observable universe.
10 quadrillion?
Or 10 million billion, if that's easier for you to swallow.
Like kind of, I guess, a little bit. Oh
so
my God.
That many intelligent civilizations could exist.
Okay.
So in our galaxy alone, so that was in the observable universe. But if we're just talking about our galaxy, the math basically breaks down to the potential of there being 100,000 other intelligent civilizations around us currently.
Wow. I just got goose cam.
So if that's true, then some of them must be sending out signals, but we can't hear them. And so the Fermi Paradox is where the fuck is everybody?
I just got goose camp. Where are they? Oh God. That is so spooky.
Isn't it silly? I was like,
scary.
Now Christine is going to love this.
Literally just picked up their cup of tea to take a little sip watching my face.
I was like, I knew exactly what I was bringing to the table. Okay. So that's basically the Fermi Paradox, trying to figure out where all these other potential life forms are.
Where are you, aliens?
Why can't I find you?
Why can't I see you?
Maybe they're who's or something. Maybe, hang on. We just have to sing loud enough and they'll come.
Sing it loud for all to hear and all.
Well,
now you're speaking alien life form language.
So, so especially, okay, so if there's that many life forms out there, they must be sending out signals, but like someone out there, in theory, at least one of them has tried to make contact with us, especially if some or even most of those civilizations are older than us and therefore much more advanced, and their technology is capable of making contact with us.
Interesting.
So to give you some context, Earth is only 4 billion years old. Only.
I know. Spring chicken.
Only 4 billion years old, but there are other planets out there that could be double or triple our age. So double or triple as advanced as us.
Well, if they're as stupid as we are, they probably blew it up by now. I feel like we're not going to last that long.
They're like, we've heard of Earth. We're out of here.
They're like, we have our own Jeff Bezos and we went the same way you guys are going. I don't know.
If we're one of the younger planets-ish, does that mean we're technically like the generation alphas or something?
Ooh,
like
we're generation Xiinön.
The Gen Xenons. Stop it, Christine Schiefer,
that
right
is like
now.
The new band, like in the Disney original flick that we're going to create.
Flick. Okay, we're certainly not Gen Z. Okay. You know, the talkies that we're going to be in. They'll love it.
Let's go to the Nickelodeon and watch that.
So if our Earth is only half or a third the age of some other potential civilizations out there, and if that's the phrase, interstellar travel, which is just space travel or traveling from planet to planet or galaxy to galaxy. Okay. If interstellar travel existed somewhere in the last 10 billion years before we even got here, surely Earth could have been visited in the last 4 billion years.
Right.
It's just like, where is everyone? So our whole galaxy could be explored and colonized, fun fact, within only a few million years. But in space terms, that's like a blink of an eye. So it's not like it would take a lot of time, theoretically, to be colonized, to be explored, to be made contact with. Ugh. So, like, has it happened yet? And we just don't know about it.
Right.
So I will get into all the theories.
Oh, I'm so excited.
So this is where Seti comes in. Seti stands for Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Okay. And it's an organization that basically listens for any detection of signals by other life. So far, there has been no luck. There have been a few times where like we thought we found something and then it was always easily explained away. So SETI basically looks for radio signals or non-natural signals to imply that there is intelligent life out there creating this on their own, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which, in my opinion, is its own like potential reason for why we're not making contact with anyone, because it's a big assumption that they would be also sending signals with radio missions, you know? Like,
good point. Yeah.
So anyway, that's my first argument of like, we're taking a real wild leap there. Assuming,
I would agree.
Especially if they're so advanced.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like in 500 years even, we'll probably not be using that same technology. So
yeah. So an example of what they're looking for when they're looking for non-natural signals if an alien were looking for us, they might look for our non-natural radio waves due to our television broadcasts or any
Our podcasts.
a podcast, any quote accidental byproducts of civilization. So before they even got there, they would be able to see that, oh, shit's stirring about, and it would only be able to do that if life were there causing the stir.
Right. Makes sense.
So there's this scale called the Kardashev Scale, and this is used to distinguish how powerful a civilization might be at colonizing other space.
What? Ew, that's so creepy.
So there's only 3 types, and it's basically each of them are categorized into how much power they can harness as a civilization. There's type 1, type 2, and type 3. Type 1, which we are within the century, it's predicted we will be a type 1 intelligent civilization.
Is that like the highest or the lowest?
Lowest.
So are we 0 right now?
We're currently like at a nothing.
Oh, got it. So you can be none of the above also. You can be like...
Yes, you have to, I think, graduate to type 1, then
Got
type 2,
it.
then
Okay.
type 3. So type 1, which is what we are approaching within the century, is that we as a civilization can use or harness or control in some way all of the energy on our home planet.
Okay.
So and then type 2 is that you can use or control all the energy of your host star. So like not just Earth, would be like the fucking solar
The
system.
sun,
Yeah.
I imagine.
Yeah. And then type
Okay.
3 is you can harness all the energy of your own galaxy.
Good luck.
I know, like, we can just channel the Milky Way.
Meanwhile, we
So-
don't know where to put our trash. Okay. Good luck.
That's why we're type 0 currently.
We're literally
So-
like killing dolphins with straws and we can't even,
We
we're
cannot
type
figure it
0.
out.
I'm with you. Yeah.
So as far as we know, I mean, we could be totally fucking wrong, but there's no evidence suggesting it. But there is no such thing yet as a type 2 or type 3 civilization. I mean, as far as we know, we're the most intelligent civilization to exist, and we're barely a type 1 because there's no evidence of
Yeah,
anything
I
else
mean,
yet.
A keyword as far as we know. Right.
As far as we know.
Yeah.
But the math suggests if in our galaxy
Yeah.
alone there's 100,000 intelligent civilizations and most of them are older than us, there's
Right.
got to be some that have the
You would
ability
think so.
to harness either the sun or the galaxy's energy.
They know how to like put their trash away properly, at least.
Yeah, the math is there. If 1% of the probable intelligent colonizations in our galaxy were a type 3 civilization, could control the energy of the galaxy, that's 1,000 intelligent civilizations.
Yeah.
Like if 1% of the 100,000, you know what I mean? Like
that's crazy. Yeah.
it's bananas. That also, shouldn't we be seeing? So that becomes a whole question too of like, well, if at the most conservative numbers,
Yeah.
there should be 1,000 civilizations that can do this. Like, wouldn't we see changes in the Milky Way all the time if they had that
if
kind of
somebody
power?
was using the energy. Weird. Okay.
So since they, since they would be like since 1,000 of these intelligent life forms could be a type 3 or capable of harnessing the energy of an entire galaxy, we would notice them and we would have evidence of someone out there.
Yeah, you'd think.
So those are just some of the main questions with this Fermi paradox. So here's some of the history of how the Fermi paradox even began. So in 1950, there were a bunch of physicists just like going to lunch. And I guess they started talking about recent UFO sightings or the potential for interstellar travel one day. And one of these physicists happened to be Enrico Fermi, or Fermi. He was a Nobel Prize winner. He was a nuclear physicist, and he built the first nuclear reactor.
Oh,
Wow.
that's casual. Cool.
Okay, first date flex. He is called the architect of the atom bomb, or the atomic bomb. Wow.
Woof. Okay.
So at some point, he kind of makes the claim of like, well, where is everybody? Like interstellar travel, if they're, the things I've just been talking about this whole time. He kind of just blurts out, where is everybody? And that is considered the moment where people started realizing like, oh, we should do some research and figure out what's going on. So around this time, scientists have start exploring the potential for interstellar travel, and they start looking at their options to make contact with intelligent extraterrestrials. And there's actually a debate on whether Enrico Fermi was really concerned or interested in extraterrestrials, or if it was about interstellar travel. And I guess in like the astronomy community, this is like a real hot button issue.
Okay, I was like, who cares? But I guess some people really do.
Some people very much care. And so they say like, well, he was interested more in interstellar travel, and it makes sense why he'd be so confused about that, because we hadn't even gone to the moon yet in 1950. So like to him, it just seemed impossible. Right. And that might have been more on the forefront or something. Because he was probably not discussing extraterrestrials specifically, or that's like what the camp believes, they prefer sometimes to consider it the Hart-Tipler paradox instead of the Fermi paradox, because Hart and Tipler were describing more extraterrestrial concepts.
Okay.
So I did have to Google both to see if the information was different. So anyway. So in 1975, for the Hart-Tipler paradox / the Fermi paradox, depending on who you are, in 1975, Michael Hart, he was writing about extraterrestrials visiting Earth, and he basically said, we haven't seen evidence of it, and if they are smarter and bigger and badder than us, they would have colonized us by now because they can, and we would have seen proof of it, but there's not even like artifacts of it happening thousands of years ago. So I'm in the camp that they just don't exist, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Then there was another guy named Frank Tipler who also wrote about this, along with Hart. And he basically said, whether or not they exist, how would they even have the resources of like possible to colonize galaxies? Like, what does that look like? How is it cost efficient? Is it energy efficient? Like, what does it take to actually colonize galaxies?
Right.
So interesting, because now as time goes on, it feels like it's more and more possible. But I guess his theory at the time was like, if aliens are real, or if intelligent life is out there and they're colonizing galaxies, they probably have this contraption that is more or less a smart machine or smart computer, which could travel through space for civilizations instead of them physically doing it. So it was... It was almost like they would send drones to colonize for them instead of like aliens having to physically go out and do it.
Okay, that's interesting.
So either way, if they were able to, that's his theory. But Michael Hart and Frank Tipler were both kind of like, I don't know if aliens exist, or if they did, where are they? And so this is kind of the beginning of what is referred to as the Great Silence, which is very, very much the Fermi paradox of why have we never heard from any other life forms if they very likely exist? Like, based on numbers, if they very likely exist.
You'll probably get to this, but like maybe they just don't give a shit about it. You know what I mean? Maybe they're like, no,
that's theory number 3, Christine.
Okay, I'm like, maybe they're like, not worth it, because I think I ascribe to that theory.
Honestly, hang in there. When number 3 shows up, I'll be like, Christine, do you have any thoughts?
I'll raise my hand.
Yeah. So, so they very much, that's their idea, is like this great silence, or the paradox in general, is just like, we just don't know where they are. And I believe it's because they don't exist.
Okay.
So then I guess during this time, while scientists are gauging the probability of extraterrestrial life even existing, this one guy named Frank Drake, he decides, I'm going to come up with an equation to figure out the probability that there are intelligent civilizations in our galaxy and how many. So he comes up with this, like, as far as I'm concerned, like arbitrary equation, but it's called the Drake equation. Came out in 1961. And it's basically how many potential signals are out there that we should be detecting from intelligent life.
Okay.
The equation is real fucking kooky, so I'm not even going to try.
Thank you, because I was like, are you going to read it to me? Because my brain won't absorb
I can, but it's like, it would look like
gobbledygook.
It would look like I fell into a puddle of the alphabet and letters just kind of splattered everywhere. But it's basically, what is interesting about it, about the equation, is that it kind of just becomes more and more specific of like how many numbers. So one of them is like the rate that stars in the galaxy form, that number times the fraction of those stars with planet systems,
Right,
then the fraction of those with that sustain life, the fraction of those that have organic sustainable life, the fraction of those with intelligent life. So it kind of just goes down and down and becomes more and more specific, but you multiply each of those numbers, and it's one of those like permutations or computations or something like that. And it basically gives you the number of technologically advanced civilizations near us.
Interesting.
So here's the problem with the Drake equation is that many of these variables are completely unknown. So you can just throw a fucking number there and you're going to get a completely different number.
Alphabet puddle and like
that one's a number puddle. That's the number puddle.
Oh, I'm sorry. You could fall into a number puddle. That's where I fell. Okay. Yeah. Got it.
And so, yeah, it becomes really biased because if someone's a skeptic, they're going to pick different numbers than someone who's a believer. And so
and it probably changes wildly depending on what numbers are in there.
Yes. And even though it's a very rough range, like it's very wide, it's all based on random numbers plugged into the formula, and it's not accurate. It was supposed to be like, I think, a rough draft of an equation, and then it just never got perfected since the 60s. And so astronomers still use it for like guesstimates.
Oh, okay.
Which is wild. There was actually a quote from National Geographic in 2000 where someone said, "The Drake equation is a wonderful way to organize our ignorance."
Wait, I love that.
And I was like, at least you're honest, because like no one can use the Drake equation and think they're actually like there's no gotcha moment, right?
Oh, so that's funny. Yeah.
So despite not having a lot of information, one of the most recent opinions we've gotten is from the University of Oxford. And they have a Future of Humanity Institute.
Ooh, cool.
And they published a study addressing the Drake equation, where they basically said no matter whether you're a skeptic or a believer, the numbers are always too high. And they actually came up with I don't know if they came up with their own equation, but they came up with their own estimates of what the numbers should really look like. And basically they suggested that the likelihood of other intelligent civilization out there is like kind of fucking nothing, like a nada situation.
Really?
Their best guess from fucking Oxford, I think.
Oh, boy.
I think it's like a pretty serious situation here. They say that there is probably a 53 to 99.6% chance that we are alone in the galaxy.
Really?
Blows my mind. And then they also said that there's a wide gamut, 39 to 85% chance that we are alone in the whole universe.
That was my next question. If they did that,
I don't understand the math or like, because in my mind, if there is no proper equation or no like solution to
if it doesn't work, then how do you use
like what equation did you use to get that if you're avoiding the Drake equation? That like there's no other equation people are using. So I don't totally know. All I know is like a big publication gave that kind of info, and it's like kind of a real bummer. Like, oh,
it is a bummer. It's very depressing.
So if you ask Oxford, they're like, the reason we haven't heard anything is because we're fucking alone.
You know what? I didn't ask Oxford, and I don't think anyone did. So
I'm certainly not going to ask again.
I'm certainly not going to ask for a follow-up. I want nothing to do with it.
So here's my favorite part of all of my notes, because I think it's like kind of precious. So the most when it comes to like the signals that we are putting out there, hoping someone will make contact with us and our efforts, the most famous deliberate attempt to communicate with other life is I don't know if it's Arecibo or Arecibo. I don't know if the C is hard or soft. Arecibo message.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that sounds vaguely familiar.
So in 1974, we sent a radio signal to star cluster M13.
Okay.
This radio message was written by scientists including Carl Sagan and Frank Drake, the guy who came up with the equation. And the message is less than 3 minutes long. It is made of nearly 1,700 binary digits. Ooh. And, quote, when translated into graphics, characters, and spaces, forms an image. So if for some reason this message got sent to them and they hear differently or they see messages differently, it would create a picture.
Oh boy, what is it?
So let me just...
I'm so excited.
So keep in mind it was 1974.
Oh, I will. What is this?
Doesn't it look like a weird ass alien message?
It looks like
Minecraft.
it looks like one of those oh my god, what are they called? Where you put the pegs in the light to
light bright.
Light bright. It looks like a light bright. Okay, so, what is it? I see a little man.
So I'll say this. So also if you were to play it, I would play it for you, but it's very annoying. It's basically very high pitched frequency sounds and it's like not enjoyable to our
My
ears.
dumbass pictured them being like, "Hello, my name is Mr. Drake."
I thought the same thing. Like, oh, they obviously speak English.
Speak English, right? Like, what am I thinking?
The Anglo-Saxon aliens from Star Cluster M13. So, to be fair, this wasn't meant to be a direct message, but more of just like evidence for others that we exist. So I don't think they were trying to do anything where they opened up a huge door to communication, but it was more like, if you catch this signal, here's some very basic information that we are here.
Yeah, it looks like a cave painting that we would find and be like, what does it mean?
Like an alien hieroglyphic.
Yes.
So the message, it really does just sound like kind of Morse code, I guess.
Okay.
But it has some like very rudimentary fun facts about our civilization listed in the message, which I don't know how it's translated where we're supposed to pick up on that. I don't totally know what code
well, you
they
said
used.
It's in binary, right?
It's in binary. Oh, you're totally right. Okay, so
that could be it.
So here are the fun facts listed in...
I need to pour some wine. I'm so excited about this. Okay.
If an alien were to hear about us, this is the best chance of
Jesus
information they've
Christ.
got.
Okay. Bring it on.
The numbers 1 through 10.
Good job.
Like, what are they going to do with that? Be like, these are some silly little bumps.
Right. Like, okay. Anyway.
Like, imagine an alien gives you like their number system. Like, first of all,
1 through 10. Yeah.
I wouldn't even know it was their number system.
With no context. Right.
So like, I wouldn't even know what to do with it. I would probably, can you imagine like the, like what is the word? Archaeologists. Can you imagine like the archaeologists today who just like look and their entire life is dedicated to this thing from thousands of years ago. And it might be like 1 through 10. So embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
So, okay. So the numbers 1 through 10, then really taking it up a notch from like kindergarten to at least high school, the atomic numbers of the elements which make up DNA.
Oh, okay, they were like this, they'll understand. Like, okay.
I think it's to like prove that that's what we're made of in case they're trying to like know how we got here. I don't totally know. But so it's the atomic numbers of hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, and phosphorus, which like isn't hydrogen 1? Didn't we already do that with 1 through 10?
They're like crossing over. Like this symbol is over here and the symbol is over here. Oh my God.
Then next up, because they really just skyrocket from here, the formulas for sugars and bases in the nucleotides of DNA.
Oh, so what? They're giving them a guide to cloning us? like I don't understand.
Like an ingredient list for human beings, yeah. The number of nucleotides in DNA, and then I think what this picture is, or part of it, a graphic of a DNA double helix.
Okay, I see. Okay, here's the thing. If this arrived on Earth, I feel like I'd be like, big whoop. Tell me something interesting about yourself, you know? Like, I don't want to know about your fucking chemistry. Like, tell me about what TV you watch.
2 truths and a lie. The formulas for sugars and bases in the nucleotides of DNA.
Honestly, like something slightly more entertaining, like a funny picture of a dog. Like, I feel like you could have put anything in here that would have been slightly more entertaining, but okay.
Today in 2022, I'm sure we would have sent like a cat meme or something.
Like TikTok. Yeah. But like, you'll figure it out.
I also like wonder like, and I feel like, you know, when you're desperate to look for an answer and so you'll almost give anything a reason. Like, I feel like if you're I feel like if let's say I'm the alien that discovered this message and now I'm like trying to like go through it. Mm-hmm. I feel like I would find out like the number like 10. I don't know. And I would be like, I mean, that's the number of nucleotides in DNA, but like, I don't think you'd put that in this message. You know, like I feel like they would almost like totally miss the point anyway.
Yeah, it's like, what even is the point? Like, are you trying to send it? Like, it doesn't seem like there is a point. It's like just a bunch of random shit.
Yeah,
I feel like I'm insulting a bunch of people who work in this field, and I apologize.
Carl Sagan, who literally...
I'm sorry, Carl. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Like, okay, so here's another one. The figure of a human, which I guess is what one of those pictures is.
That's the thing, that little red guy?
I think so. Like, that's the best this alien has.
That's the figure of a human. They're not going to know what the fuck that is. Are you kidding?
Even if they brought that on like a map and then came to Earth, they'd be like, where's this thing as they're talking to other humans?
Exactly. No, 100%. Like, what? Okay.
Here's the next thing. The size of an average man, like, but not like height or weight or width or
and also
length.
not a woman, but okay, yeah, of course.
Shoe size? Like, how detailed are we with the size here? Or is it just
Pee-pee?
like the number
size?
Or is it just like the number 6 for like 6 feet? Like, and also like we expect them to know the metric system? Hang on.
Right. Okay, right. And what if it's like, okay, I was going to go back to penises, but we don't need to talk about that.
We can every time. That's fine.
I feel like they could be like 11 inches. That's the average. What about you guys? You got to learn the metric system.
They totally lied. You know they did.
Of course.
Oh my God, Cubat. Oh, but imagine if they had like that little red man though, and they were like, "But this guy's 3." Like it was like just roasting.
You'll understand when you see.
By the way we're handling this, I feel like every scientific community needs like 2 almost like Gen Z millennial mean girls to be like, that's stupid.
Hello. Do you know what I would think if I saw that? I'm Generation Xiinön, and I have a lot to say.
Okay, so then there's also the number of the human population of Earth, which was in 1974. So figure that one out for yourself. It's changed.
Yeah.
Also, like really assuming like there isn't like a mass extinction by the time this message gets to them.
Really, really bold assumption.
And then I don't know how in depth this goes, but this is a whole quote, by the way, everything I'm describing. This is all from Wikipedia. The next thing that was listed in this message is the solar system, which I don't know if that means like a list of the planets or like how the entire thing works.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then the last thing that it mentions is the observatory that this message came from and the diameter of the transmitting antenna dish.
I mean, that seems like so not interesting.
Or important.
Like, there's so many things I feel like you would want to say, like, we come in peace.
Right.
I could come up with a million.
We are nice.
We are nice. Please don't hurt me.
Yeah.
Right. We have dogs here. Be careful. I don't know. Like anything.
So here's the most infuriating part of all of this.
Oh, no.
I want you to guess how long it will take that message from 1974 to actually get to star cluster M13.
You're kidding me. 100 years.
It is going to take 25,000 years to reach them. And then another 25,000 years if they were to give us an immediate reply, because now it has to come back the other way.
My God.
Like, and they had the fucking nerve to be like, this is the population of Earth. Like,
here's
what?
a man. It's like nobody gives a shit.
Here, 25,000 years ago, this was our population. By the way, one thing they didn't fucking mention in that message, the time it was sent. Like,
okay, that was what I was going to say. Like,
date received.
Like, I assume if these other people are smart enough to send a message back, they could probably trace it back. But oh, how awkward though. 25,000 years later, that's like a catfish in the making. Like, they show up and they're like, you gave us a totally different idea of what it was like over here.
We thought you were little red men who were 3 inches tall
red men with
11-inch
penises. And we are sorely disappointed and we are going home. Okay. Goodbye.
Also, it'll take us 25,000 years to turn around and get back home.
We're going to do the long drive home.
Also, like, what happens if 25,000 years pass and then that message gets to them and they're like, Like, what do we think they're going to do? Like, holy shit, we got to get to Earth. Like, they know 1 through 10.
Yeah,
like, what?
wow. They watch Sesame Street. Congratulations. What are they supposed to do with this information?
The other infuriating thing is because it will take 25,000 years, by the time it gets there, M13 won't even be at that location.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
So
like, what is the point?
They're just sending it into fucking the void, I guess.
How awkward. I feel embarrassed that this was sent on my behalf, you know? Like, I wish we all could have, like, taken part.
Think of the people literally going to be born 20,000 years from now who are also going to have to be embarrassed because another 5,000 years have to pass until the aliens start laughing at us.
That's so embarrassing.
And also, like, if they're already, realistically, if they're already wildly technologically advanced compared to us, and now imagine another 25,000 years of advancements.
Bad.
And we send them a fax from 74. Like, what are you talking about? Who is going to want to see us? Like, all you've done is make it clear that they shouldn't come here.
That they want nothing to do with us. Honestly, that's so embarrassing. A fax. Oh no.
So our technology obviously has not been able to detect any signals yet. And the theory is that other civilizations' equipment would be more advanced and could pick up this weird message.
Great.
Maybe there's life elsewhere, but we are the only intelligent civilization so far that we know of, and that might be because of the Great Filter.
What's that?
So the Great Filter is this is like one of the bigger concepts in this paradox, the Great Filter. So the Great Filter is an event that happens in theory on every civilization at some point. And it stops civilization from evolving any further and ends the civilization altogether. So it's kind of just the thing that butterfly effect keeps us from existing anymore. So the event could be anything. It could be natural. It could be man-made. It could be solar flares. It could be climate change. It could be asteroids. It could be nuclear warfare. Or even it could be an event so early in the civilization's existence that civilization barely existed to begin with and was immediately eradicated. So the concept of basic molecules never becoming complex because of whatever conditions are on that planet. Like that could be the Great Filter. And like, because they never became more complex, life just never continued.
Now, by civilization, do you mean like, the Romans, or do you mean like humans in general? Like
just intelligent life.
Okay. So it's not just like, one cultural civilization. It's like overall. Okay.
Overall, just like an intelligent life form living somewhere else.
Okay.
And so the idea is maybe a lot of these places that statistically intelligent civilizations exist, maybe there's a huge chunk of them where the Great Filter took them out before they could have ever become intelligent. So even though mathematically it makes sense that they would have existed, they just never even got the chance because they got wiped out too early.
Right. So technically they existed. They just didn't get very far.
Which would make the math sound, but it would also explain why we're not hearing them because they never got further than being molecules.
They never learned how to make a fax.
They never learned how to make themselves. They were literally...
Okay, fair. That's the saddest thing I ever heard, but okay.
So the major points or the major concepts which lead to intelligent life, to, I guess, answer more your question of like what it means to become a civilization.
Right.
There's a list of pivotal things that have to happen in order for you to become a civilization. All the way from the beginning of the timeline, you have to have a star system with proper conditions for intelligent life to be created.
Okay.
Then there have to be reproductive molecules. There have to be simple single cells. Then there have to be complex single cells after that. Then there has to be reproduction. Then the multi-cell life. Eventually it becomes tool using animals. And which then ultimately becomes what our intelligent civilization is today. So it's like all of these big evolutionary things have to happen for us to get even to here.
And so sex.
And sex. That was the reproduction one. And so the Great Filter suggests that if something catastrophic happens at any point in the timeline, then we are no longer able to become intelligent life or thrive as intelligent life or communicate with other intelligent life.
Okay.
or like even if there's other intelligent life out there that somehow has survived up into this point like we have, or maybe even further on, if we're out, we can't talk to them.
Right.
So one of the big theories behind why we haven't made contact with other life forms is because at some point in other civilizations or potential civilizations, a great filter causing event happened and destroyed them early on. So because I know I keep repeating myself, but I'd rather over-explain.
No. It's good. I'm actually following for once, so
hey,
I love it.
I told you I learned astrophysics.
I'm telling you, and I'm learning it. Wow.
So because so many things for us to have even gotten here, there has to have been so many things that went perfectly right in perfect order under perfect conditions for us to have even gotten past like, I don't know, like simple cells and like
yeah,
all the way to like being able to use tools and then like having our own intelligent civilizations. Like it's just like, what are the odds probability wise that of those 1,000 potential intelligent civilizations in our galaxy, how many of them beat the odds and also got as far as we did?
Totally makes sense.
So for us, even though it's amazing that we're here, it took Earth billions of years to even get to this point.
Sure.
So we, for all we know, could be a complete random fluke. And that's how, like, we just happened to survive existing this long when most don't.
That tracks, though. Like, we're just all sitting here all depressed and, you know, in the 21st century. And it's like, we were just all a fucking fluke.
I was supposed to be a simple cell organism.
I was supposed to have
a
one-track life, and here we are.
I was supposed to be a fish in a puddle. What happened?
Now we gotta work. Are you kidding me?
So, most civilizations, the theory goes that because of the Great Filter and the catastrophic events that probably happen earlier on in civilizations, most civilizations probably aren't as lucky and something ended them way before they could ever make contact with us, which then, like I said earlier, already it tracks mathematically that those civilizations could have existed, but it also tracks for why we're not hearing anybody because we might actually be alone.
Yeah.
So this leads to the question, did we accidentally survive a Great Filter event? And like, how, if we're alone because it is so improbable for us to have made it this far and very few do, did we accidentally survive an event that was supposed to wipe us out?
Who let that happen, by the way?
Who did that? Also,
here's the smoke break and like let us survive. I feel like that wasn't supposed to happen.
Well, here's the other flip side to that question. Or has the Great Filter event not happened yet?
Well, that's also, or is it happening currently? I mean, I would argue it's entirely possible.
Climate change. Yep.
A lot of possibilities. Warfare, climate change.
I think there was a study, I didn't keep it in my notes, but there was a study, I think in 2018 that basically said our Great Filter event is the climate change going on right now.
Yeah, well, I'm not shocked at all. Like that does not surprise me.
So, here's the thing. If the Great Filter event hasn't happened yet, we're fucked, and we might cease to exist before we're ever able to make contact with other life. And the other really like depressing version of that is even if we were to put out more messages or more signals, even if we put out the signals now, we might cease to exist before we ever find out that someone actually did get the signal. Because if you think about that one message from 1974, it's going to take 25,000 years for it to actually get to them. And in those 25,000 years, we could fucking die. And by the time they hear this like fun little text from us or AIM message, basically,
by
the time they find out about it, we've been dead for 20,000 years. So it's
they can probably see that message and be like, yeah, they didn't survive. Like they'll see the message and be like, sorry,
I don't even need to look this up. I know this message is from beyond the grave.
They were faxing us. We know they didn't make it much farther.
So if we did somehow survive it though, and like we're not supposed to have made it this far, then we can consider ourselves one of the very special civilizations to have made it this far and have advanced this far. And we shouldn't expect other civilizations to have done that.
Too.
So this encourages one of the theories called the rare earth hypothesis, which is basically that we are special and not every other civilization has been able to get this far. Our planet's conditions are weirdly perfect to sustain life for longer. Mm-hmm. And it implies less of a chance of intelligent life being out there. The opposite is the mediocrity principle. And we're not fucking special.
Yeah. Well, I really hesitate to fall into the we're so special camp because it's just hard to believe. But yeah, okay.
So the mediocrity principle is something that Carl Sagan and Frank Drake both stand by.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this was something that they said or if this is just more updated information, but our galaxy seems to be as similar to 77% of other galaxies.
Okay, now that's interesting.
So there's really nothing special about us. Our conditions are perfect for sustaining life, and therefore this is more pro extraterrestrials exist, because if there's a 77% chance that other Earth-like planets have life like us, then they have made it, and the Great Filter theory or the Great Filter event didn't wipe them out.
Right.
So although this suggests that there's other life out there, this is an interesting caveat where it's like, okay, so there is other life out there. The mediocrity principle stands firm. There's a bunch of civilizations out there, or there's a bunch of life out there, but it doesn't always mean that it has become intelligent life. One of the theories is basically that even though there is a lot of life out there, maybe there is a fluke that we are one of the earlier ones and therefore currently the more advanced.
Oh.
Or based on their conditions, they take longer to evolve than we did. And so even if there are 100,000 whatever chances of there being life in our galaxy, most of them could just be fucking cells and
algae
molecules
or some shit. Yeah.
So technically, there's a lot of other life out there, but it is not even aware that it could make contact with us.
Right. Okay.
So what that then leads to is the concept of it's not a great argument for other civilizations actually existing out there, because if you think about how long it took Earth to get us to where we are, billions of years. First of all, billions of years to create, to have all these creatures, to eventually evolve us into who we are today. And out of all of that time of Earth's existence to get us here, there is only one species on Earth, us, who have been able to even come up with scientific advancements to make contact.
Right.
If you think of all the time it took all of the species out there on Earth, and out of all those species of life, we're the only ones. What is that fraction or that very small number of success of being able to reach out? So when you think of all of the other planets out there that probably have life on them, if it's anything like Earth, there could be several thousands or hundreds or whatever types of species that are technically intelligent life, but they have there's no way they're going to be able to talk to us.
Rhinoceroses,
exactly,
and a lot of pigeons, and it's I don't know.
There's actually a theory that I talk about in a second called the water world hypothesis, where there's a theory that most intelligent life out there is just fish. So it's there's it's technically intelligent life, but
it's your nightmare.
It's my fucking nightmare. But also not a chance in hell are we ever going to be able to make contact with them. So it's just really interesting when you think of for Earth to take this long to get one species that can make contact with you, how long is it going to take any other?
To have only a handful, I think you probably already said this, but a handful of people within our entire species who can pull that off. I feel that alone is
such a good point. Think of not just the population of everyone that's ever lived on Earth, but the population of every living creature that's ever been on Earth. And there's probably I don't know, 1,000 or 2 of them that actually know how rockets work.
Carl Sagan. There we go. The odds of that. Right.
So I'm sure it's more than 1,000 scientists out there, but you know what I mean? The number is so small. The probability of even our most advanced and intelligent life form after billions of years. Right. So few of us can do it.
It makes sense.
That's to me, I think that's my favorite theory of why we haven't heard from anyone, because they could exist, but
they're all fish.
Damn, there's one of them, there's one that could probably make contact with us. So who knows?
Yeah.
Or they're all, dolphins. So, so anyway, now I'm done with all of the other stuff. This is just the possibilities.
Ooh,
This is just like the main running theories. So number one, these aren't in a certain hierarchy. These are just listed. Number one is that intelligent life could have already come here, and it was just so far before we ever even got here that even if there were artifacts or evidence of them being here, it's not even part of our realm of understanding that they were aliens.
Okay.
So they could have been here, but there's no evidence that we know of it. The second one, which falls into the great filter, is that maybe other life was interested in making contact with us, but they became extinct before either we got here or their signal got here.
Okay. Makes
So
sense.
like we just never got to make contact with them, even if they tried. They were already wiped out. Do you remember what number 3 is?
Oh, fuck. I got all excited and then I drank so much wine. Number 3 was they were like, we don't want anything to do with you.
Yes, that they're just not interested.
They're just not into you. It's sad, but it's kind of a truth we have to accept.
Let me see what I wrote down for this.
He's just not that into you, and I don't necessarily blame him.
So here's the thing. They could just be completely uninterested. They could see us as inferior or not worth their time.
Especially check.
I mean, this falls into it too, but if they're so advanced, why on earth would you go to such a primitive area?
Like, I guess to take it over is my only thought. Like,
right. Like,
oh,
unless you were there for some dominance, in which case we should be so lucky that they
exactly.
We're such a throwaway planet. They're like, we don't even want to dump. Like, that would be too easy.
Unless we've destroyed the planet enough that they're like, it's not worth saving.
So here's another idea about how they're uninterested, though. They may be so advanced on their own planet or in their own galaxy that they've already discovered and explored everything they need, and every need of theirs is already fulfilled. So they're not
interested to expand. That makes sense. Yeah,
it's not even interest in fascination. It's like they're not interested in like changing their way of life.
They don't need it. Right.
Like also they could be a utopian, and they're like, we truly just want everyone to leave us alone, and we leave you alone, and we're perfect where we are.
If they're a utopia, they should probably avoid
one look at us, and they would be like, oh, it's
depression.
Here's another one. Some civilizations, this is a very wonky belief, but it falls under they could be uninterested in us. There was one theory that some civilizations out there could be so technologically advanced that they basically have like a very well set up metaverse experience where they can just, or what was it? It was like that Black Mirror episode or something, or I feel like there was a TV series. Oh, it was called Upload, literally called Upload, where they basically, their day-to-day is they upload their minds into virtual worlds and they just live there, and they are blissfully unaware of the physical universe around them.
Oh, wow. So they're not even physically present. They're like,
check the fuck out.
Got it.
So they could like upload their minds onto machines, and if they wanted to, they could even explore galaxies from like virtual reality or like working from home, like
work from home,
like distant working remote or whatever. But yeah, you literally just said that. But like that could be the concept too of like they're so advanced, like the idea of even space exploration is primitive to them.
Okay.
Another one is that this is a common regular conspiracy theory that the government has found out that there are signals out there and just haven't told us about it.
About that too. Yep.
Another one is that this is another favorite of mine. We just live too far away from other life forms for them to colonize us. Basically, that we're in the sticks.
Oh, yeah.
We're like
we're in the sticks.
We're in the boonies of the galaxy, and first of all, the distance between our galaxy and theirs might be just not worth the trip, or maybe it's so far away that they're like kind of like the facts from 1974. Maybe they're mid-trip and it's just taking thousands of years and we don't know.
They're like, we'll be right there. Or we're alien hillbillies. Yeah, I like that theory.
Beverly Hillbillies, but the Earth hillbillies. So even if they wanted to talk to us or send signals to us, maybe by the time the message got to us, they would be extinct because of the Great Filter. Or depending on their civilization, the distance from their galaxy to ours could be too energy costly, and it's not worth the resources.
Sure.
And for all we know, if we really are, quote, in the sticks, here's the fun part. Maybe they have colonized and or are in full communication with other galaxies, but we're just like left out. We just have like full FOMO.
That hurts my feelings.
One of the original physicists that talked to Fermi that day in 1950, he basically said, like, what if we're just not part of like the metropolitan, galaxy conquests? What if we're just like,
dare they?
Out in rural bumfuck nowhere galaxy?
How dare they?
And we just don't know it. Another theory is that these intelligent civilizations know better than to broadcast their location because of threats out there colonizing them.
They're like, we know what happens. Yeah, okay,
exactly.
Interesting.
So other civilizations out there might avoid reaching out because they might be thinking, and also they might not know about other threats. They might just be paranoid about other threats, because if they're also wondering about there's got to be other life out there, we should make contact. They might be thinking, we can't possibly be the first ones to make contact, aka whoever made contact before us and we never heard from them again. Something must have happened. So like we know better than to try because we're scared of the other people who tried and weren't successful.
Yeah.
They could also just in general be wary of potential threats, and so they're just keeping quiet, which also probes then come into play, which are basically like big robotic machines that do the job for them and basically patrol the galaxy for new life. So there's a theory that extraterrestrials could have just created monitors and they're always watching the universe through these machines. And maybe these machines are, taking out other civilizations, and that could be what's causing the Great Silence or the Great Filter. It's like maybe they're just taking out other civilizations one by one, taking out threats.
Do that.
And so they could just, or everyone could just be neutral and aware of other life, and they just don't want to be a part of it. So the next thing that's also very similar to this is the thought that there could be a, quote, super predator civilization.
Oh, I don't like that.
And basically they are the first extraterrestrial intelligent life form to have gotten here. Therefore, they're the most advanced. And I guess to keep threats down, if they find out there's any other intelligent life, they just fucking knock them out. And then that would explain the Great Silence, because everyone's taken out before they even have a chance to make contact. The sub-theory to that is maybe we are the earliest or most advanced, and maybe we're the super predator and don't know it yet.
That sounds like some dumb shit we would do.
Sounds like
destroy everyone else.
Sounds like Will Smith is going to make a movie about it in 2 years. So another one is simply we are just not advanced enough in our technology, and they are making signals to us, and we are just not detecting them. We have less advanced technology, or either the technology is true primitive, like maybe they don't use radio waves, or their signals could be so advanced that they could be hitting us right in the fucking face and we wouldn't even know it.
Right.
Where like they could be so advanced that to us maybe it just sounds like random ambient noise and we're just ignoring it, or maybe we're so focused on radio waves that we're not paying attention to the right frequency. Or this was interesting to me, was that their technology could be so advanced we wouldn't be able to comprehend it. I saw one quote where someone referred to us as like, maybe we're just ants on an anthill and we're completely unaware of the 10-lane superhighway next to us.
Now that gave me goose camp.
Which is true, because like what if their version of communication is like weather, and like every time it rains those are aliens literally fucking like, talking to us,
clouds.
And we're like, oh, it's chilly and gloomy out, I wonder if aliens exist. It's
now
like
we can eat corn. It's like that's not the point. Okay.
So this actually kind of segues pretty perfectly into one of my last theories, which is that other life is actually out there watching us from afar and interacting with us at all times. We're just not aware of it. So
great.
Either they're interacting, or they could be 100% even just like looking through a window for the most part, and they're like, look, don't touch, we know you're there and you don't know we're there and we're observing you.
Ooh,
so
spooky.
this is called the zoo hypothesis, which is basically that we are a zoo, and that there is life smarter and more advanced than us out there that knows better than to interfere with us because they don't want to disturb our natural evolution and development.
Oh,
because
how nice.
one of those theories is that we're supposed to actually graduate to a much more advanced version. And if they get in our way, we might destroy ourselves before that gets to happen.
Well, I think that might be already happening. So if you guys want to step in, honestly, I invite you to.
Please rain bananas on us or whatever Christine just said.
Help
Give us
a little.
corn. On top of the zoo hypothesis, where they're just watching us and they don't get in the way, there's a spin-off theory called the laboratory hypothesis, which is that humanity either was or is part of a galactic lab experiment.
Okay, that's freaky.
And the solar system is actually just a lab, and the aliens are scientists, and that's why we can't hear anything because we're alone. And even though it makes sense that there should be other things going on in other labs, we can't hear them.
And that's why every day when I want to get my cheese for breakfast, I have to walk through all these hallways and turn left and turn right and turn left until I reach my little piece of cheese.
We're just on the hamster wheel.
I'm just a little rat.
Which also brings me to what I think is going to be your favorite theory, the holographic universe theory.
Oh, boy.
Or the planetarium hypothesis, which is that we are in a
simulation.
AKA the universe is empty and there's no wonder why we can't make contact with anyone because no other life has been uploaded to the simulation.
That is so creepy.
So the idea is that extraterrestrial life is out there and they created us in a simulation, which is why we can't reach them. Because it's like when the Sims look at you and go, Hasafwa, Hasafwa. But like,
and you're like, no ladder for you. Goodbye.
That's exactly it. And then I said earlier, the water world hypothesis that basically most intelligent life out there
is dolphins.
Is water animals. Yeah, dolphins.
Wow.
And so if most of them are water animals, I think, what was his name? Andrew. Oh, Adam. I forgot his name. I thought I had in my notes. I must have deleted it somewhere. But this scientist who's all about the water world hypothesis. If you happen to listen to this podcast, I'm sorry I didn't mention your name. But basically he said like, he kind of leaned into the rare earth hypothesis where like we are special and the conditions and circumstances of our planet actually did help us evolve better than other life out there. Because just the way that our planet is set up, it's weird that for a water world or a planet with so much water on it, we ended up knowing how to make fire and have opposable thumbs. And like, it is kind of actually a one-of-a-kind fluke. And so most creatures that come out of planets like ours are aquatic animals.
Interesting.
So in that realm, intelligent life is most often other creatures that like the notion of making contact with other worlds is just like not even part of their comprehension. So I'll end now on saying that humanity has been around for 200,000 years, but we've barely scratched the surface in space exploration. Just to give you an idea, we've only had for 130 years, keep in mind the world or the whole universe is like 14 billion years old. For 130 years, we've had radio transmissions.
Yikes, that's freaky.
For 100 years, we've had radio telescopes to try and actually see if other people are out there. And we only found out about planets outside of our solar system younger than us.
Wait, really?
In the 1990s, we found...
No way.
So exoplanets are planets outside of our solar system. And our first exoplanet we found was in the mid-90s.
Are you serious?
We are older than the discovery of exoplanets.
Okay, so we are like...
And that's planets in our galaxy that we only found out about like 30 years ago.
Shit.
So we know fucking nothing. So we have to be the most primitive compared to the chance and the likelihood that there are civilizations out there. There is a range where like there's a chance that the oldest, most advanced civilization out there is 14 billion years old. And we discovered planets outside of our solar system 30 years ago. So like we have to be the oldest grandpa at the party, you know?
That's embarrassing.
So we are still hopeful that we'll detect something. We just launched NASA's James Webb Space Telescope, which is apparently the most powerful space telescope so far. There's also the Perseverance rover on Mars, who is currently collecting samples and he'll come back in like a decade, and maybe we'll find something there. Seti, that organization that looks for the signals, their biggest challenge currently is searching for signals in such a vast universe with limited resources that are not advanced enough. So even with their best technology, sending a signal currently from us, if we send a signal on Earth, the farthest it will broadcast is only 0.3 light years, which apparently is not even 10% of the distance to our nearest star. So we're like, the idea of us sending a message, it's really just kind of not, it's going in the spam folder, really. It's not going anywhere.
Our fax is going to the spam folder.
And so basically their hope is eventually, the fingers crossed, that if someone wants to reach out to us specifically, they will send a very powerful and direct signal that we will be able to pick up on, despite not having top of the line technology compared to what they probably have.
Wow.
Also, when that happens, we have to make sure that we are listening to the right frequencies at the right range, the right region at the right time. Like, it's very touch and go if we would ever actually know, even if there was a signal coming our way, because it might be so different than what we know.
Holy shit.
And right now, we have only one piece of evidence that intelligent life exists, and that's us. And for all we know, we could be a total fluke, and that is the Fermi Paradox.
What the fuck? I had no idea. No idea.
Before we get back into it, I have to tell you, I just went to go grab some water, and I did my thing that I love me so much. Here's what happened.
Tell me.
We know we love Sleep Me, and we know how I love Sleep Me loves gifts as a love language.
We love Sleep M. Yeah, we do.
So honestly, I don't know if this was Sleep Me. I don't know if this was 3 years ago me. I don't know, because I've told everyone here before that one thing I like to do is send future me presents. And like, I'll just pick a random day. Like, you know how they'll say, like, when do you want to send this?
Today's 222. Did you send yourself something?
I sent myself something, and I didn't know.
Remember at the beginning you said, oh, I wish I'd sent myself a gift.
I knew myself well enough to know that I needed to do it like years ago, I guess.
You should have known yourself today well enough to know you did do it.
Look what is it? It's chocolate-covered strawberries. And it says, Happy 22222 Future M. You've been waiting a long time for today. Look at all you've accomplished up until now. I'm so proud of you. Love, past M.
M, what the fuck?
No one knows how to woo me quite like me.
You've said it before, and you'll say it again, and it'll always be true. But okay, here's my question. Is there a way to figure out when you sent that? Do you remember sending it?
Not even a little bit.
You should check, because I wonder. It would be
knowing me. It was years ago.
It would be so heartwarming to know, like, oh, when you say, "Look how far you've come," and if it was like years ago,
even I wouldn't have known how far.
Exactly.
Well, that's so sweet. I am so
nice. That's the nicest thing I ever heard.
I'm telling you, everybody, I honestly think it probably was years ago, because what I like to do when I'm bored, like especially when if I ever got a paycheck and I had some like extra money, I would intentionally go on like an Edible Arrangements or like a gift site, and where they would show like the calendar, and it's like, when do you want this sent? I would close my eyes and just pick a day, and so it was like completely random.
Serious?
It was completely random to even me, and it would be such a surprise. But I always sign it to Future M, Love, Past M. But this one I did a whole message of like, I'm so proud of you.
Honestly, M, at the beginning of the show, you were like, I wish I'd sent myself something, and past you was like, just wait.
I'm my own little angel.
We're going to get it on camera.
That is what past me dreamed of.
Absolutely. Your past you was like, wait till the camera is fucking recording.
And look at this stupid fucking box. XO,
the box
XO, XO.
is full on hot pink Valentines for anyone who's listening. It is Hopping Valentine with gold accent. Like it is.
Look, if you could marry yourself, I would have done it years ago. I'm just telling you that.
I don't did you just say just telling me that?
Just telling everyone that. Like, if you're not dating yourself, you can't possibly date anyone else. You have to love you first. And I certainly do.
That's very deep.
Anyway, I hope you enjoyed astrophysics.
You know, I'm all right, I need to get some wine. I'm literally drinking this whole bottle. Oops. Okay, here's the thing. Oh no.
No, you did not do it, Christine.
Oh, shit.
Your whole room is white as snow. I mean, never mind, not anymore.
I just spilled all over my office.
See, I'm smitten with who I am in the past. With like, I know how to really treat myself right.
Nobody needs to know how I feel about myself.
Past Christine really loves to fuck with future Christine.
Past Christine has never said, look how far you've come, because past Christine is like, I don't want to know. I'm going to close my eyes.
Past Christine was like, I already know where we are, girl. And it's it's a carpet full of wine.
I guess they're like, past Christine is a little bit like, there's only up from here, but we don't know how far up. But
is it on the carpet? You got to do the push twist and release.
Honestly, I'm very impressed with myself because it is all over this light gray Kelly Clarkson office chair that I bought from Wayfair.com.
Kelly. Aww.
But I put on this maroon shirt and I wiped all the wine off it with my shirt.
It's almost like past Christine knew that future Christine was going to need a wine-colored shirt.
And look at the shirt. It says, blame it on Mercury retrograde.
I feel like that shirt ripped off our Mercury retrograde shirt. I'm just saying.
One of our listeners gave it to me, so I don't know where it's from, but it served me well in this very moment. But I will say too, when I wish I were more like you, well, full stop. I know. Just take that and like swallow it and keep it in your brain.
Christine.
But also, you know that's true already. But I also wish I were more like you because when I'm like, I want something for myself, I'm like, but I want it right now. I don't have like,
oh, I do that too.
Okay. Okay.
There is, the limit does not exist in terms of gifts to myself. Like I get future me gifts, I get present me gifts. I give past me gifts because sometimes I like to like heal my inner child and I do things that don't totally make sense. But like,
wait, that's so cute. Okay. Wait, I like that. So
all
it's like,
dimensions
I'll buy
of me are
myself chocolate
handled.
Strawberries now, but I'll also just send myself some in the future.
Yeah. I'm sure I did a 2-for-1 situation with this and like past me ate real good at night, you know?
Okay. That makes me feel better because I'm like, if I were like buying myself chocolate covered strawberries, I'd be like, but I'm hungry now. Okay, so you do both. Now that I can get behind.
Look, I'm just saying it's honestly the best thing I could have done for my relationship with myself.
No, I love it. And I know we're going kind of long, but I have a question. So like, when did you first start doing that? Because I feel like that's such a kind self-love thing to do. And I don't have many of those things. And I feel like a lot of us could use a tip like that. Like when did you first start?
It had to have been on it. Okay. Well, this is like really like, it's about to get sad. But I think I started doing it when I was in my last relationship, which, as you know, was
excellent.
Fucking bonkers. Really horrific and awful. And so this is about to sound really sad, but we're in a happy place now and it's fine. And we're just saying things and it doesn't have to come with an awe. But I think I was like, well, this person isn't treating me right, so I'll treat myself right. So
damn, but good for you. I feel like a lot of people, myself included, have thought this person isn't treating me right. I guess I deserve it.
It started out really sad though, I think, because when I would treat myself like they couldn't know, because like I would like quote get in trouble that I was I didn't spend the money on them or whatever, blah blah blah. So I think it used to be like a secret little sneaky thing, and then now I see. I kept it, and now I'm like, no, I should be proud that I like love me before anyone else.
Absolutely, you should.
I tell Allison all the time that I like love me the most, but like not like a bad way, but like if I don't love me, there's no way I'm going to be able to love on you. And so like I give myself presents, I get Allison presents. Everyone wins, you know?
I'm so happy for you, and I'm honestly, I felt so bad that I hadn't gotten you something for 222, and so I'm so glad you got you something for 222.
Look, I think to answer the question again, I think part of me started doing it too because I felt kind of like a time traveler because I've always signed it as past to future M from past M.
That part tracks 110%.
Yeah.
Not surprised about that.
Anyway, are we surprised this is a long episode? No.
No. But wow.
Let's keep it all in though. I feel like we've
love it.
We've done nothing but just bond.
I think it's really special, and I feel like you've taught all of us a thing or two about self-love. You know.
Before we get into murder, if past you, or if it could be present you, and you're talking about future you, if you had to get yourself a present right now that you know, like in 6 months on a completely random date would just blow your mind, what would you get yourself?
Oh, me?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be crazy. It's something like this. Like if you could order something tonight to surprise yourself, what would it be?
That's such a nice question.
Because anyone who's listening, this is your homework. Go on a website, get yourself a thing, and don't let it show up. Make someone else pick the date, but let them pick the calendar date, and you don't even know when it's coming. And
oh my gosh,
you know what's so weird is like, I know I'm like all like being like all crunchy granola right now, but it always happens to be on days where like I really need it. And so
I'm not surprised at all. I feel like that's how the universe works. Yeah.
And every time I'm just like, damn, like I knew me better than I even thought I could.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
And honestly, to answer your question, I have no idea. I've never thought about it. I have no idea. So I should probably do some introspection.
That's your homework. I want to hear next week on the next episode what you got yourself as a surprise.
So cute. I don't know. I have no idea. I will think about it.
Think about it while we're talking about the complete opposite spectrum of topics, which is just awful and sad and gloomy.
Okay, perfect.
I don't know how else to segue into. Please tell me horrible stories as we're all about self-love right now.
Let's all love ourselves anyway. Oh, that's the cutest thing.
And you should give yourself a little letter like I give myself.
Now that's nice. I honestly, I sometimes tease you for that, like, oh, your past self, your future self, but like the fact that you said today on the episode, like, oh, I thought I would have sent myself something, and then you did. So cute.
I'm telling you, I know me better than I even realize, but I know future me better than I know present me is the thing.
But that's so nice to be known, by yourself.
By I'm the only
realize.
You know what? As much as I love you, or I love my parents, or I love Allison, I have to deal with myself for the rest of my life.
That's exactly right.
Everyone else has a chance
for
to
that,
leave.
By the way,
I know. Everyone else has a chance at leaving. I'm stuck with me, so I better treat me right.
Yeah. I mean, I think we can all learn a thing or two from you. But all right. So today I have for you a part 2, and it's been a long time since we recorded part 1.
Yeah, I don't even know what part 1 was.
Yeah, so I will tell you. Part 1, God, it was weeks ago now. Part 1 was the whole story is the Élan School, which is that abusive as a hell school.
Okay, I'm going to be honest. I almost cheated on you. And I almost watched the documentary you were talking about with this, but I didn't want to find out anything that you were going to end up telling me. So I have it saved in my list, but I did not watch it.
Oh, well, thank you for saving it, because there's only a bit more, but once it's done, you really should watch it. But thank you for saving it.
What was it called again, so other people can watch it?
So the show, the movie, or the documentary, I don't know why I said it so
Prime
weird.
Or something?
Yeah, it's called The Last Stop.
Yes.
And it is on Amazon Prime, as Em said. And it's about this school. If you haven't listened to the last part, you probably should, because it describes the whole background of the school and all the people involved. But it's basically this kind of reform school in Maine, and all sorts of kind of fucked up stuff is going on here. We haven't gotten to really the main story yet, but they had, the last thing I talked about was basically how they had this thing called Primal scream therapy, where you would just scream bloody murder and try to get out all your feelings.
Oh, it was, it was bad. It was there was not a single rule that you couldn't avoid breaking without breaking a different rule. You can't You can't look up, but you can't look down, but you can't sit, but you
Yes.
can't stand, but you can't sleep, but you can't be awake. Like everything was
100%.
so wild. So
it was
wild.
like you can't talk to people, but if you're quiet, then you're in trouble. It's like
There was even some, it felt like you're not supposed to date or be interested, but also if you're not
Yes.
interested, then
but
that's
if
a
you're
problem.
a prude, then you're
Yeah.
exactly. And so there were a ton of. It's basically a lose-lose.
And also like the punishments were like, if you do that, then like other people have the freedom to like beat the crap out of you or something. It was like if you bother someone, they have the right to hit you or something crazy like that.
I don't even remember that part.
I feel like either you did tell me there was physical abuse or I am already primed to
Or we're getting there.
yeah, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah. So either it's been already said or it's coming up, but yes, you're completely right. There is definitely physical abuse involved. So they had these encounter groups. They had this physical or this primal scream therapy. And they had these rules called guilt. And if you went against guilt, there were repercussions. And I think I already read the whole list of things that included guilt, which are the things you were mentioning: talking too quietly, talking too loudly, talking too much, not enough, reading or writing, speaking without permission, not eating too much, rolling your eyes. Like there were just a bajillion different things. And you were basically, it's a lose-lose, like you were screwed. So that was the last thing I had read. And so there's a whole list. I said it in the last episode. If you want the whole list, there's like 45 things on it, so I'm not going to reread it. But if you were caught doing a guilt, which is one of these bullet points, by staff or students who were listed as strength students, which is like when you were older or like you graduated from like a non-strength to a strength. If you were caught by any of those people, you were going to be punished. Punished. Yep. So staff would make the teens write down their own guilt. And so you would have to basically tell on yourself, like you would write down your
This is
own
where I
sins.
said it felt very Scientology because it's like you're owning up like to things that like you're being forced into like admitting faults for punishment. It's so
you're
weird.
like blackmailing yourself, basically.
Yes.
Like at Nexium almost. I don't know if you remember Nexium, but yeah, like so it's sort of like you are writing your own blackmail. So basically they would have you write your darkest thoughts, fears, and worries, and then that would be weaponized against you. So these were often written on the clipboards of these strength students, and you'd usually have to write one guilt every day. And if you didn't have a guilt that day, then that was your guilt, that you didn't have a guilt that day. So
isn't that wild? Like you're supposed to feel bad that you don't feel bad?
That you don't feel bad. Like you didn't do anything wrong, so that's wrong. Yeah.
Literally, as I said earlier, like you're in trouble for not like no, you couldn't not break a rule without breaking another rule of like you're in trouble for not being in trouble. What?
Yes, yeah. It's a lose-lose. Like you cannot
Crazy
win.
making.
So one way that you were punished for your guilt was via what they called learning experiences, which came in all shapes and sizes and all levels of inventiveness, which the word inventiveness is so uncomfortable to me in this kind of context because I'm like, I don't like when people get creative with things like punishment.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
With your stories about like Alcatraz and all these different places, every time I hear like inventive punishment, I'm like, I don't.
It's also like, it's very
know.
interesting because what was it called? Learning something?
Learning experiences.
Yeah. Because there's a few like fundamentalist groups I follow where like their punishment is called like training.
Oh,
or like,
no.
Or it's like not even like punishment later, but so in Duggar worlds, one of the things that like fascinates me about them is that there's different types. It like raising your kids is called training them, which is like very punishment based, disciplinary based, where it's like I'm training you to obey. And so like it's like their way of taking the word learn or the concept of education always seems to come with threats.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
And I'm only comparing, two fringe belief systems to each other, not saying they're the same, but it's just a weird, it's interesting that it's common across all very in my opinion, fucked up beliefs.
No, I totally agree.
So,
and I mean, the word training is what they use in like the army, you know? So it's like it
to break somebody, yeah.
Right? Like they shouldn't go hand in hand, you would think, with like raising a child, but I guess that's how it is. So yeah, they had these learning experiences. So some examples of this inventive punishment included the following: split risks. And I know, it already sounds bad. So those who tried to or planned to escape from Élan were deemed split risks. So whether you literally tried to run or you just looked out the window in a forlorn way and they decided you looked like you were trying to run away. One of the punishments was that you were given shoes without laces and forced to wear bright yellow shirts and skimpy pink shorts.
Okay, so there's like, at the time, it was very emasculating as well.
It was emasculating, exactly. And that kind of does come down to a lot of this.
A lot of shame.
A lot of, exactly, like fully shame-based stuff. If you attempted to escape on multiple occasions, your poison was a pink rabbit suit. You wouldn't have any shoes, and you'd wear leg shackles. And basically, like you said, the point of the punishment was to humiliate the student and restrict their movement. So there were also costumes, in addition to this bunny suit. That was another form of humiliation. They would force them to wear a costume that embodied the guilt they had committed. For example, every morning, a girl called Jennifer, who had a crush on one of the guys, was forced to wear a whore costume. Yeah.
Oh my God.
As if a bunch of teenagers don't all have a crush on someone. Like, what are you talking about?
Also, like, again, I don't mean to like direct this to other fringe extreme groups, but like that seems very based in purity culture.
No, it is, right? Like, it's very fitting. I think so. Yeah, so she had to wear this quote unquote whore costume and got up in front of the whole house and quote unquote dance like she was a whore. Yeah, and she had to do that every morning in like assembly, basically. Yikes.
Also, like, that's so like I know this is like not the main problem here, but like imagine you're that age though, and it probably felt like the main problem at the time, that your crush knows you had a crush and this is because of you. Like,
and you happen to tell one friend, or you wrote about it in a journal and someone read it, or whatever it may be, and now it's just on display and you're being humiliated for it. It's
in front of your crush, which as a kid, that's the worst part of this whole thing.
Really?
Like,
fucking
imagine the trust trauma of not being able to like tell your own friends you have a crush.
Absolutely. Or even trusting yourself to write it in a journal or like feel it or act on it. Yeah, exactly. Another kid was dressed up as a robot because they were deemed an emotional robot. So some of them are very direct costumes.
Also, we don't know what the situation was. That kid might have been, those might have been real psychological symptoms to pay attention to.
Oh, absolutely.
Or like, the kid could have been like neurodivergent in some way. Or, I mean, God,
and a lot of these kids were, were there because of quote unquote behavioral problems. So we don't know why. We don't know what the background was.
Oh, God.
But one other kid was thought to be infantile, so they were made to wear a diaper over their clothes. One girl, this is pretty wild. One girl had syphilis, so they made her wear a crown of bloody tampons. Which, like, what?
Okay. Yeah, what does that mean? But that also, I don't want to know.
Necessarily correlate, but I guess someone thought it was a great idea. One guy suggested in morning meeting that they should get a house dog. He was like, I think it would be really cool for us to get like a therapy dog, like a house dog. So they decided he would be the house dog.
What?
And they turned him into a dog. He was only allowed to communicate by barking. They made him walk around on all fours and wear a collar and a leash.
So I feel like that was farther down the road where like I don't want to say where the logic escapes people, because this is already not rational. But I feel like they, at least in a sick person's mind who's doing this to people, I feel like there was like some fucked up like one way thinking.
Yeah, it was like a direct correlation. There was no like,
but the dog thing is like, so so he didn't do anything wrong, and now
It
you're
was
just
just
gonna
like a weird,
like I feel like they're getting bored and it's getting more extreme for like sick entertainment
and like nonsensical. Like it's like, okay, he said we should get a dog, so now he's a dog.
It's like what? Like I like looking at the clouds, so now I'm the
I'm a
sky.
cloud.
Like what? That makes, yeah, that makes no fucking sense. Okay,
Exactly. So it was strange. But so they basically like anytime they wanted to call somebody dumb or say they had a stupid idea, they just humiliated them in some way. So there was another punishment called shot down, and shot down duty was for people who smiled without permission, God forbid. Which, by the way, like, well, whatever. I'm not even going to go there. But so smiling without permission would lead you to shot down duty, which means you had to do chores around the school, like mopping floors, cleaning toilets, and washing dishes while wearing a dunce cap. There was a punishment called signs, and that meant that some students were forced to wear signs for days, sometimes for weeks, which spelled out their problems and guilts. So, I mean, basically like a scarlet letter situation.
Or even like basically like if you're a list of someone's guilts, I mean, you might as well just slap like someone's personal diary entry on their chest.
Like crushes or whatever on them. And so at morning meeting, you'd have to stand up and read out your sign. And people were welcome to like confront you about the sign you were wearing. So I'm going to read some of them here. They're just mortifying. So here's one. I'm Scott, the hospital tot. I find it hard to see that I have guilt and it's killing me. I don't even know what that means. Hickory dickory dock, responsible I am not. I fell asleep like a little sheep. Ask me why I'm a dummy. Okay.
Oh, wow. So like... Okay.
I think like other kids are making these up too.
I was gonna say this sounds like a kindergartner was trying to write a joke or something.
Here's one. I'm a pussy and can't express my feelings.
Oh, that's wait. Dare I ask what was that person dressed like?
Oh no, but that they were just wearing the sign.
Oh, okay.
They didn't have a costume.
I was like, yo, that's just doubly mortifying as a teenager.
Maybe a tampon crown, but no, I think honestly, the costumes were a separate thing. Here's one that's not good. All I have to look forward to is getting raped in prison.
Oh my God. What?
Yeah. Please ask me why I swear. Okay. I mean, I'll wear that one.
That one's fine. That one's okay.
Please confront me as to why I have so little self-control that I've become a blob.
Oh.
That was to an overweight kid.
Oh, no.
Please ask me why I'm a whore. And that was a girl who held hands with a boy when the lights went out for 5 seconds. And so she was...
But like he fucking wasn't, right?
Right. No, I don't believe so. So there you go. Exactly.
So I know you're in the middle of this, but here's my question though. Was there, to your knowledge, ever a like shining teacher's pet? Because what the fuck was that guy doing? Like, how do you get away with not I feel like every single person 24/7
was breaking some,
had a sign on them or was dressed in a costume. I feel like there was no quote normally dressed happy kid.
My thought is it's sort of like the prefect thing from Harry Potter where like it must have been some of the upper level kids who were the strengths who were enacting the punishment on others. I imagine that's the only way that you could be climbing the ranks or be successful is that like you were playing the system and like
yeah.
And that's why a lot of the kids in the interviews in the docuseries said the same thing of like I only went along with it because it was the only way to survive and not be beaten.
If it's like, I mean, this feels like Lord of the Flies, that it's like the kids controlling the kids. But what is that psychology experiment? Is it the Stanford Experiment where like they just let people
experiment?
They just let people play the role of a cop or like a corrections officer, and the other half played inmates, and like it was just shocking how quickly the people in control just like got so fucking violent and aggressive for no reason. Like I feel like that's happening here where it's like you gave the kids who are desperate for acceptance, you gave half of them a dose of power, and now like
you give them power and then you say like if you reject the power then you get punished, and it's like well okay, of course you're going to play into it and of course you're going to take on that role. And so that definitely happened a lot. So my only thought about like teacher's pet type kids were probably the ones who were following the rules and doling out punishment, you know, along with the others. That's my guess. But yeah, so that was the last one. Please ask me why I'm a whore was the last one for the signs. There was another punishment called the corner. And according to a survivor whose username was deleted, but this was on Reddit, children who tried to rebel or be free-thinking were thrown into an isolation room where they had to stay for months at a time. They had to sleep at night on a dirty mattress on the floor of the isolation room. The mattress was brought to them at midnight, and they were woken up around 7 a.m. Throughout the room, they had to be sitting up straight facing the wall. If they weren't, they'd be beaten up. They could only urinate or defecate in a bucket in the room, a bucket which would sometimes be emptied onto their head. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So like pure and utter abuse. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They also would dole out spanking. I mean, not too much to explain about this. They would have the teenager bend over while each student at the facility was forced to spank them with a paddle. And then there was something called electric sauce. And that was when a concoction of garbage, cigarettes, mustard, dirty water, ketchup, rotten food, urine, and poop would be poured over your head, and you were not allowed to clean it up until someone of authority gave you permission. So you just had to like suffer through it until someone said it was okay to go shower.
This also feels very much like Sylvia Likens or
yes,
where it was like all the
other
kids.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, either I punish you or I'm going to get punished. So like it was just like everyone against each other for survival.
No, that's 100% right. It's like how much blame do you place on other kids because it's like they're being manipulated too.
At what point are you
perpetrating it?
At what point are you the abuser or like just doing it for self-preservation? And
also the psychological trauma that must happen being one of those people who's also participating in the abuse, and it's
who
like
knows that you're hurting somebody, but you're just desperate to not be in the spotlight for a second.
Terrible. Oof. So there was another one called general meetings, and this was sort of like the encounter groups, but escalated. So if you disobeyed a rule, a general meeting would be called by the staff, and that person would be put in front of all the students. Then a broomstick would be placed at the foot of the student who had broken a rule, about 4 inches in front of their toes. And once the words, "Get your feelings off," were shouted, the students would sprint at full speed toward the student behind the broom, all the while screaming in that student's face. And they were forced to berate that resident, shouting verbal abuse just inches away from their face at the top of their lungs. So that's fun.
Jeez.
And let's see, the ring. This was probably the worst punishment of all of them. For the ring, students would gather in a circle, and the bully, aka the person who needed punishing, the person who committed the guilt, would have to fight against another person that they were guaranteed to lose against. They had boxing gloves and a helmet, so if the person the bully was fighting against got tired, there would be several other students to step in. So basically...
So it's you versus the school in a fighting ring.
Yeah, everyone. And so you'd be beaten to the ground as fellow students would cheer, like, fuck him up, waste the little bitch, beat his ass. This is part of the documented stuff. People would scream. And if your tactic were to not fight at all, sometimes that would make it worse because then people would, they would get angry and try to make it even more of a punishment on you. So now this is a big rewind, but we're going all the way back to Phil Williams, who I mentioned last episode, who had died of basically an aneurysm at the school, and his sister had gotten a call being like, your brother has passed away from this aneurysm, and it was really shocking and confusing. Well, it turns out he had participated in the ring, the punishment, before being sent to the hospital. And there was a survivor named Matt Hoffman who actually remembered what had happened. He had witnessed the whole thing. And if you remember from last episode, I had mentioned that Pam, who's Phil's brother, had gotten a random call from a guy named Mark Bitts. And he had said, he was like, "Oh, you don't know me, but I know your brother passed away and I have information about how he died. And it was not just from a plain old aneurysm. Ugh. And yeah, so Pam was like totally blindsided. And Mark was like, I have a story for you. So,
okay.
So Mark had been contacted by Matt, who was the one that had seen Phil in the ring, basically, when he was going through this punishment. So he said he wanted to find justice for Phil because, quote, I could have been that kid.
Oh.
Yeah. So Matt told Mark he had a story, and he said the story of Phil just collapsing because of a brain aneurysm is not what happened at all. Clearly, Matt wanted this off his chest, and he was like, I need to tell somebody about it. And so he chose Mark to call and tell him about it. Matt had discovered via message board that someone with the username Dav Betts wrote that on the Christmas weekend of 1982, Phil was forced to go 3 rounds in the boxing ring before he went unconscious and started vomiting profusely. Phil was left on the floor for an hour before given any medical attention. And when Matt Hoffman read this news, he couldn't believe it. He needed more people to know about this if it's really what happened. Quote, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. Go to the FBI. So Ann Passion, who goes by Ann Bowen now, was Phil's department head at the time he died. She told the Sun Journal that Phil was a good kid, a fun kid who was doing the program pretty well. Everyone liked Phil. And in the days after Christmas, one evening after dinner, Phil complained about not feeling well because he had a headache. And staff thought he was manipulating the system. And because he said he had a headache and staff decided he was manipulating the system, he was thrown into the ring. So he was punished just for having a headache, basically.
Which, like, very, very weird foreshadowing.
Right? Right.
That his head was hurting. I mean,
Agreed.
Anyway. Okay.
He was up against 2 to 3 teenagers, but never fought back. And Anne remembers that he was defeated. He was getting the shit beat out of him so much so she couldn't watch. And after he was collected from lying on the floor, he was brought into a dark office and Anne was ordered to guard the door. And when the staff member wasn't doing anything to help Phil, Anne got up from her post with the intention of telling the staff member that Phil needed something to ease his headache. But the staff member snapped, he asked me what the hell was I doing, getting up from the chair without permission, and told me that he would take care of it when he got a chance to, she said. This was a staff member. This was an adult. He continued joking around again and laughing. I went back down and sat down in the chair. This was then followed by sounds of a bunch of kicking around coming from the office. She remembers, so I opened the door and I said, Phil? And he didn't answer, and I see him flopping around on the floor, and I screamed out, Phil needs help, twice. Eventually,
God.
Staff, not an ambulance, took him away. He never returned. After this happened, I didn't think about Phil. Not that I'm a bad person. I didn't think about Phil because I closed my mind off. It was so traumatic.
Sure.
I've never dealt with anything like this to this very day. That was like the worst day of my life. Yeah, and again, like we talked about that too, of the psychological trauma of being involved in doling out punishment without...
Yeah.
Because you don't have a choice.
And I honestly, like, obviously have never been in that situation, but I can totally empathize with, you know, or I at least sympathize with the fact of like, oh, I just shut my brain down. Like, I couldn't think about it because, like, I didn't need to have my own fucking panic attack and then get in trouble for it.
Yeah, because like you're in survival mode yourself. Like you don't want to be punished. I mean, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
So a woman called Laura Alemang, who was known as Lori Tufts at the time, went to school at Élan from 1981 to 1985, and she was also there when Phil died. And she has the image of him being beaten for 10 minutes straight and not fighting back once. Oh. She said he kept putting his hands up above his head. He was doing defensive moves. If you didn't fight back, they'd keep you in there longer. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but eventually he hit the floor. Ugh, I'm sorry, this is really fucking horrible. I remember him going into convulsions. I remember him spasming, asking what's going on, and they pushed everybody back at that time. She said, I will always remember Phil Williams' name. When a kid goes into convulsions in front of you, I remember Phil because I remember his curly hair, and I remember he used to have headaches all the time. He always had his head down on the table.
Oh my God.
It's awful.
And like, God forbid, like, if you were someone who had seizures or something and like you had like, or like a heart condition or something at this school, like, I know with confidence they were not giving you medicine or taking you to the doctor, or if anything, they would use it as your guilt, and they would like be like, go for the heart, go for, you know, like strobe lights in front of someone's eyes. I don't know. Like, they would use it as a weapon.
A weakness. Right. Exactly.
Oh God.
It's beyond fucked up. A staff member who has chosen to remain anonymous remembers Phil as the short fella who'd often be sent into the ring. He did not know Phil had died this way until way later. Even Phil Williams' death certificate wasn't wholly truthful. The doctor who had refused to comment didn't fill key portions of the certificate, including whether or not an autopsy was performed. So this went all the way to the end. People were still covering up for this place.
I was going to say, I don't know if you know the information or if I need to be reminded, but why were like doctors like friends with the owners of the school and everything? Or like, why were they covering up for him?
I don't totally know. I don't know why an autopsy would be fudged.
I mean, I imagine that this guy who like somehow swindled people to let their children be here, I'm sure he like
had connections or something.
Or somehow tricked people into like, oh, don't tell anyone. I mean, whatever.
Right. The fact that this place was open for decades without any sort of oversight makes me think like, yeah, they had their ways, but I'm not totally positive. But so the school made such an effort to conceal what had happened to Phil hours before he died that he wasn't even rushed off in an ambulance. He was escorted quietly in a car. And the staff member commented, it was uncommon that students would go to the hospital, but it happened. Late at night, a house driver would take them. You have to understand that in the 80s, Élan was losing a lot of credibility, and they were doing whatever they could to maintain revenue. So it was events like this which led to Élan closing in 2011. So it was only 11. I know. It was only 11 years ago that this place shut down.
And was it that horrible the whole time?
Yep. Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much. At least.
Thank you for your honesty.
Yeah, there may have been ups and downs, but there was never like finally it's healthy and safe. There was evidently no teaching being done at the school. There was no time, obviously. I don't know where they would have found the time to actually do classes. And nearly everyone who attended were traumatically terrorized, just being students there. So the death of Phil Williams Jr. wasn't the only murder linked to the school, believe it or not. Probably not that hard to believe. But a student named Michael Scale, who was a Kennedy cousin and I know, and an Élan alum. Remember how expensive this fucking place was too.
Right.
So people were paying for this treatment.
Can you imagine being like, anybody, but like a Kennedy in the public eye or something, and like your kid's going here? Like, how did they not yank him out immediately? How did they not sue this school? Okay,
they thought this is the way to treat their behavioral issues.
Okay.
So Michael Scale, a Kennedy cousin and Élan alum, murdered a young girl called Martha Moxley. I don't know if you know the name, but it's a very famous murder case. And that was somewhat linked to Élan, but that's a totally different story. But so that was also a very highly publicized case related to the school. So social media and internet activism on Facebook, Tumblr, Reddit, and other sites is what finally brought survivors together and helped with the takedown of basically this fucking torture chamber, which then officially closed April 1st of 2011. And so Élan's executive director, Sharon Terry, commented, "The school has been the target of harsh and false attacks spread over the internet with the avowed purpose of forcing the school to close."
Wow.
Okay. Big fucking whoop. So Catherine Whitehead, who's the founder of the Community Alliance for the Safe and Ethical Treatment of Youth, was grateful for the power of the internet, despite whatever the fuck Sharon was saying. She said,
"Yeah,
the internet has been absolutely critical." Excuse me. because survivors are spread out across the U.S. They get sent to a program and then they have to go home. When you connect to other program survivors, you recognize that this is a large-scale problem, not an individual program's problem. That has been critical in bringing people together. It's an incredibly effective organizing tool. Which you have to think, like, a lot of this stuff probably did not get fixed until the internet. Because how would you know other people are dealing with this and it's not just you or it's not just a couple people you know?
Yeah, they weren't fixing it unless there was a fear of like getting canceled, I guess. Like
exactly. So not even just the students connecting with each other, but also the threat of like, we have power because we can tell people about it.
To be a fly on the wall of two students who went through this for years, reconnecting years later and being able to talk about the deprogramming they must be having to go through would be fascinating. I mean,
Absolutely.
I wouldn't want to, I mean that in the most genuine way. I don't want to like be like, oh, I'd love to exploit these people and hear their stories.
But I totally agree.
To know like to be able to finally bond outside of that world with someone who gets it I can't even imagine how powerful that would be too.
I was about to say, it must be really powerful to know like, hey, I'm not gaslighting myself. This really happened. And I'm not the only one who experienced it. So as for Phil Williams Jr.'s family, a police investigation into his death was finally launched in March of 2016. And I don't know whether the case has closed since the latest article about it was written, which was January 2017. And since then, the case was still active.
Okay.
But Phil Williams Jr.'s sister, Pam Newell, commented around that time that, quote, each day that the case is open, I have more and more hope. I'm never giving up hope on Phil. I just really think he should have some justice. They should not have put him in a ring with his head problems. They should not have put any kid in a ring. They just should not. If that was me putting a child in the ring, I would go to jail. Come on now, why is there any debate about it? Let's go. Rack him up. Line him up. Move him out.
Amen. Oh my God. I like her.
Let's go.
But it's so true. It's like if I ever thought about it and even potentially endangering a child, you better be fucking kidding me. Like,
are you kidding? Like, in what planet is that okay? You suddenly give them tens of thousands of dollars and it's okay that they're treating kids this way? It makes no fucking sense. So yeah, the documentary is called The Last Stop. It's on YouTube and Amazon Prime if you're interested. It takes a deep dive. It's obviously pretty dark, but it's pretty much all we've talked about here. Yeah. And it's survivors who talk about their experiences. It's pretty cool to hear them talk about it, first person and explain what happened and kind of see where they are now. It's not all sunshine and roses. Like some of the students who went through this are like, hey, I've been fucked up for a really long time and I'm still trying to pull my way out of it. So it's
I don't know how people can fully recover from years of that experience.
Exactly. So it's not all like, oh, come up in story. It's like, people are still dealing with the aftermath, obviously. But it's a really great docuseries. I recommend it. It's very powerful. And on the website, which is elan.school, that's ELAN, this was once the official Élan School domain, but it has now been reclaimed by survivors who share their experiences, as well as one survivor called Joe, who draws cartoons to describe what life was like there. So
wow. Yeah,
so basically the school's website has been taken over by survivors and is now just people describing their experiences. On the website, Joe draws cartoons of what it's like. And yeah, that's the story. So even though Phil died of, a casual brain aneurysm, he was a kid who experienced a lot of headaches, and then he was put in the ring as a punishment and was beaten severely and died as a result of that. So very fucking tragic, but it is nice to see that people are, finally his family's being taken seriously and like it's actually being somewhat looked into. So
yeah,
that's the story of the Élan School. Pretty fucked up, but there you have it.
Wow. I can't believe it was around only 10 years ago or so.
It's weird, right?
Wild.
2011. I mean, ugh. It's gross.
Wow. 2011. That was like right around the time we were graduating. So there's people like our age who've had to deal with that.
Yeah, I was very much in college at that point, which is
That's so
I was
wild.
older than the kids at this place. Yeah.
Oh,
And it is cool too in the documentary because you can see you can see adults now who were there in the 70s, 80s, and you can see people who were there as kids in the 2000s. So you can kind of hear experiences from like decades apart at the same school. And it doesn't sound great no matter what decade they were there, to be honest with you.
Oh my God. Wow. Thank you for also for making that a two-parter. I feel bad that mine wasn't more of a two-parter because it was definitely long.
It was good. I mean, mine, I remember when I did it last week was like wildly long. So this is probably for the best.
What, you said your baby was crying earlier. Is she finally asleep yet, you think?
You know, for now, everything's temporary in my life.
Even my sanity. What is your...
Oh, especially my sanity.
what kind of hours of sleep are you getting? Consistent hours?
Last night I got 3.5. Yeah, it's not great. I'll be honest with you. It's actually really bad. And I feel like I want to say, hey, does anyone have tips? But I know even just by Googling that the tips come in by like the thousands. And so I'm hesitant to say that. I will say I'm hoping this is just a temporary like 4-month sleep regression thing. And she's going to go back to, because for a while she was sleeping 6 hours at a time. Then
she was sleeping like a monster. I was so proud of her.
It was so nice. And I was like, I am so fucking lucky. And she would sleep like 6 hours and then like wake up to eat and then like sleep 3 more hours. And I was like, this I can handle. Now it's like every 90 minutes, she's like, I would like to eat 6 ounces of food now.
Wow.
Good morning. I'm hungry. And so I don't know. I'm like, everyone's like, oh, just let them like soothe themselves back to sleep. And I'm like, yeah, but then she decides she's starving and she won't sleep. So anyway, I don't know.
I mean, I've said this before, but when it came to like buying a house, getting married, like having pets, I have always appreciated you being the guinea pig. Like,
what do I do that for? I don't know. I think I'm just too impatient to wait for anyone else. I'm like, I'll do it. I
have only patience for any big milestone where I have to adjust a change. And because of you, I feel like I know exactly how to buy a house. I know exactly how to get married. I know exactly how to have pets. I certainly know that when my baby turns 4 months old to not be very happy
to say, Christine, I'm going out of town. Happen. Could you watch my baby for a few weeks?
Don't ask how old the baby is. 4 months is nothing. Don't even think about it. It's fine.
Don't even think about it. Although I will say, you might not, I want to correct you. You might not know how to do it, but you will know how not to do it. So I feel like that's a powerful lesson I'm teaching you. How not to do things. So I'll give you my journal or whatever for your future life.
One day when I decide to take a big milestone, just give me a list of everything you did and like 1 to 10 how badly it went. And I'll go off of that.
0, 0, 0. All of it is a 0. I really feel like a guinea pig. I'm also the oldest of my siblings. I feel like everyone's just watching me like, ooh, like cringing every time I make a new turn. So hopefully I'm just the practice, I'm the guinea pig.
I'm glad you volunteered. I
don't know why. I don't know why I did it, but I did it.
It's okay. I'm proud of you for doing it. It is too late. You can't back out.
It's too late.
Well, good stories all around, sad stories, but I got to be honest, my eyes are lingering over here.
You go. I'm so sorry. I should have told you to eat that while we were recording. You could have eaten that.
We both knew we would have gotten some nasty messages about the people who don't like the sound of chewing, which is understandable, by the way. Someone would have had a problem with it. So I've just been...
Okay. Well, you go enjoy that.
Thank you. And you go buy yourself a present for a random future date.
How fun is that? I love that idea.
Why do you think I do it all the time? It is so fun.
Only a few things make me cry, and I'm getting emotional about that.
The best part, first of all, everything makes you cry. Shut up. Second of all, like, it's also like the best part about getting yourself a gift is you're going to love it. Like, it's not even like...
you're right. There's no question.
It's not like someone else got it for you and you're like, that's not really my favorite flavor, or I would have gone with a different design.
It's the wrong flavor. Yeah, right, or something. Like, it's like,
no.
You know.
You know what you want.
Genius.
It's the simple things, baby.
I'm like so happy for you. I'm gonna cry. Okay, I gotta hang up because I'm gonna cry actually.
These. Okay,
I'm gonna go do my homework and figure out what I want in the future because I don't even know.
And everyone else, by the way, if you treat yourself to a random surprise in the future, tag me when it arrives to your home.
Do it.
And I'll share it on my story because
we
everyone should
know.
We need to advocate for self-love.
Share the podcast too, or tag the podcast too, because I feel like we could make that like a cool movement, you know?
Yes. Self-love something. I feel like that could get X-rated pretty quickly. Okay, never mind.
Self-love, sexy time.
And
that's
why
we
buy ourselves things because we all deserve it. And drink.
Because we love ourselves. Sexy time.